Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded.
I came out as gay quite late in my life, like in my late 20s. And so I had to hide for most of a lot of my childhood and teenage years. Now for everything to be so accepting, it's great. It's great for the new generation, but I still feel sometimes a bit judged and a bit timid and shy around other people. And so I am longing for places where I could be just with gay men, because this is my community. This is the core of my community. And this is where I feel safe, the safest.
You're listening to the Theatre Thoughts podcast. If you're a new listener, welcome to the podcast. If you're one of our valued returning listeners, welcome back to a new episode. You can find all of our content via our Instagram channel at ttpod_official, as well as watch our episodes via our YouTube channel. If you're a fan of the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you're listening from. Share us on your socials. Send us a love letter. Make an interpretive dance promoting us. Whatever you need to do to show the love. So switch on those thoughts and be sure to subscribe to catch all our new content in 2023. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. We have a very special guest on today. We have a French-Australian playwright and screenwriter who has published 2 plays, one of which, What Have You Done?, was produced at Chippen Street Theatre. He's worked on over 150 television episodes and has multiple feature film scripts in development. He also teaches writing at the University of Technology in Sydney and is a co-creator of an unlimited podcast series, An Ordinary Australian. So it's not his first time on a podcast. Please welcome Laurent Auclair.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Good pronunciation, I hope.
Great. Perfect French accent.
Thank you. I did play the French taunter in Spamalot, Monty Python's Spamalot, so I practiced like my over-the-top French accent once. It's fun. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to talk about your new play, French Letters and Leather Cleaner, which is playing as part of the Sydney WorldPride from the 10th of February until the 24th of February.
Yeah, I'm really excited and scared at this stage because it's in a few days, and it has been such a great collaboration and such a different way of working for me on this play. Usually, as you mentioned, I wrote 2 plays before that I basically just developed on my own and then gave to one of my friends who's an actress, and she produced them. So it was quite separated. And this one was much more of a collaborative effort because Fruitbox Theatre for this year for WorldPride, they basically created that very big collective of writers and actors. And they asked each of the writers to come up with a play, and then we workshopped it a lot with some of the actors that will be in the play actually. Some others who are more on the behind the scenes type of things. And so that was really, as a screenwriter, mostly, I love the collaborative aspect of writing, and that every step of the way, your words become, they change and they evolve and they turn into almost a new play once they're really talked about by some other people. So I really, really enjoyed that process. And so now, yeah, we're ready, or I hope we're ready. We think we're ready anyway.
You never can feel like ready, can you, when you're doing a production, especially when it's something that you've written?
No. And then once you feel you're ready, it's already finished, and you're just like,
yeah.
I want more.
Yeah, it becomes this constant like creation, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'll do the quick bio so people get a bit of an idea of what it's about. So description is an aging shop owner, a savvy 20-something, a jaded drag queen, and a straight inner west couple spend an evening in an adult store. Love it already. The world premiere of French Letters and Leather Cleaner explores the commodification of queer spaces without taking itself too seriously. This is a farce, after all. You got me hooked.
Yeah,
I love it.
So I just I really love the farce aspect of things, and coming from the French side, we have a really strong French theater movement that happened mostly since the 1970s, called the Café Théâtre, which are usually very short plays, so a theater a bit like KXT, where we're doing the play this time in King's Cross. It's a very small space with not a big audience, so you're really immersed within the audience, and it's usually very short plays that are very farcical, over the top, really trying to put characters in the craziest situation possible. And so obviously I wanted to talk about queer community and what I call the stratification of Oxford Street, which is a big problem for me as an aging gay,
Yeah.
There's the gay places, or the strictly gay places, don't exist anymore much. Everything is so gay friendly that everyone's welcome, which is great. But sometimes I would like to have my own little space. And so it's talking about that, and using an aging, kind of outdated adult store run by an older gay guy who's trying to survive, and when the block is there for sale for promoters and for the whole neighborhood to become a bit of a boutique type of places, he just wonders where his business can go, and what is the relevance of places like that and havens where people can come and find shelter.
Right. So why was that kind of important to you? Like, I know you briefly touched on it just then, but where does that kind of feeling come from for you as a writer? Say, this is something I want to highlight.
Look, I think it's something that I came out as gay quite late in my life, like in my late 20s, and so I had to hide for most of a lot of my childhood and teenage years. Now for everything to be so accepting, it's great. It's great for the new generation, but I still feel sometimes a bit judged and a bit timid and shy around other people, and so I am longing for places where I could be just with gay men, because this is my community. This is the core of my community, and this is where I feel safe, the safest. And I love gay-friendly places, but sometimes I don't feel as safe because, I look at straight guys and they don't appreciate that, and they take it the wrong way.
Yeah. No,
and so that's why I am questioning that. Society has moved so fast around those questions that we are now completely mainstream, but then we lost a bit of that identity that I am still attached to probably it's a generational thing that, and it was actually really quite interesting to see, talking to the young actors that are involved in Fruitbox Theatre, and where they are much more into the question of the genre and not so much the question of sexuality. And we had a few conversations where it was harder to understand each other and to say, oh, you're coming from that point of view, but I come from a very different point of view, and how can we actually meet somewhere in the middle?
Okay. I think that's fascinating. It's a fascinating discussion. And I think it's, I like that a lot of works and a lot of new works that I'm seeing just comes from a really personal place in a lot of writers. And I think that's what give a lot of these works it's their depth and its heart as well.
For me, that's one thing, is as a writer and as a more comfortable writer about my writing, I tend to tell more about myself now. When I started to write, I wanted to please everyone, and I wanted to make sure that my story was something that people were expecting and not so much something personal. But I think now I'm more comfortable about my writing style, and so it's easier to approach personal topics and then put them into a genre or another.
Sydney's brand new independent theatre company, Ikigai Entertainment, is ecstatic to be presenting Xanadu the Musical at the newly renovated Sutherland Arts Theatre. It's going to be a party all over the world as a Greek muse inspires love, laughter, and the world's first roller disco in this 1980s glitter explosion. Tickets are on sale now at ticketek.com.au for this exclusive 2-week season from February 22nd to March 5th. Getting quick, tickets are rolling out the door.
So where did this love of writing come from? Like, what was it? Was it in a moment in your life, or did you have a teacher or somebody in your life that kind of gave you this love for writing?
Look, I think I had two teachers. One that gave me the love of reading, which was great, because I'm not sure how I did all my school years in France. And so I'm not sure how the system really works here, but for a long time we were forced to read French classics, which are quite boring to read when you're 11, 12, 13.
No, trust me, I know exactly what you mean. Trust me, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to have a teacher when I was probably 13 that actually gave us an whole range of books that we could pick from and do an essay on. And the book I chose was Rosemary's Baby, which is not at all a French classic. Of course, I read the French translation and not the English book, but
Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
This is the first book I read in 2 days. I just ate the book.
Oh, wow.
My parents could not believe it. They were just like, "What are you doing this weekend? You're not out. What's going on?" I'm just like, "Oh my God, that book is so good." And so I realized, okay, books don't have to be boring and too serious and too deep. And so that gave me really a big love of reading. And then an English teacher, actually, when I was learning English in France, it gave me also the love for films and to watch films in their original language and to try to push myself to learn better English so I could understand better and don't need the subtitles. And that really gave me the love of writing for films and for TV, because it really, I could find that combination between writing, reading, and watching, which are the three passions of my life. So, yeah, but two teachers really were instrumental in that for me.
That's beautiful. I think well, I mean, me personally resonates with me.
Exactly.
You wrote you've written a lot for TV as well. And am I
Yeah.
mistaken? You've written a lot for Australian TV as well.
Well, I was lucky enough when I moved to Australia to find my spot in a French-Australian co-production in animation, and so I was able to communicate in both languages quite fluently, and to also understand the difference of culture between how to address a French person, address a French broadcaster, not from an Australian point of view, but from a French writer's point of view, and I think that allowed me to really develop my skills both in French and in English as a writer and as a script editor for animation. And then I was, all those ways of life are so weird. Of you meet one person, you work with one person, and then I ended up working for Home and Away, and where I was chaperoning a young actress, and that got me into the possibility to write one episode of Home and Away, which I'm very proud of, because this is, that was the stamp for me to say, okay, I can be Australian. Not Australian enough, maybe, but I'm Australian.
Well, it's the most, one of the most Australian shows that you can get, so it's a big tick for sure. And then did you kind of, how do I word this? Was it very organic that you kind of, sorry, my words are getting all mixed up. Was it really organic that you kind of found your way into writing for theatre? Because you've had 2 plays published already.
Yeah, look, it was, for me, it's I like to write on different formats, and usually it's the story that tells me, when I start to have an idea, the story tells me, okay, this is going to be a short story, this is going to be a film, this is going to be a TV series, this is going to be a novel, which I'm writing at the moment. And it's really the story, I think, for theater, which is something it's harder for me to do in film, is I always think of theater as dialogue driven. And I want, because you're stuck in a place, you can't just think of camera movements and that type of thing, which I do when I write for film or TV. For theater, you just have to be immersed in one space and then be convincing enough through dialogue and how the story is conveyed through the confrontation of 2 or 3 or 4 characters. And so that's how I started to write my first play. It was produced quite successfully by Sophie Lipovic, and that gave me the idea of writing another play for her. And then, when I heard about Fruitbox trying to find people to write queer plays for WorldPride, I was just like, okay, I need to find an idea too. And I was so lucky and happy that they chose my idea.
That's lovely. And it's being directed by Sean Landis as well. What's it been like working with him?
Look, it's a great collaboration. And for me, I don't want to be a director. I'm a bit scared of actors. So,
they're very versatile people. You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And being a writer, I'm much more of an introvert person, happy to work in my environment and not having outside people being too loud. And so it was really great to just basically give him the baby and just said, okay, you raise the baby and I'll see you at graduation,
Yeah.
And this is basically what we kind of do. We were privileged to have a dramaturg on board too. So he also gave us a lot of ideas and how to develop some of the characters. For me, probably the biggest challenge in this play was to create a non-binary character, which is once again, because I'm from a different generation, and to understand the culture of non-binary people, and to understand how to say some things without being too obvious or to be inappropriate. And really Sean and the whole team at Fruitbox really helped me navigate through that. And I was lucky enough to have Robbie, who's going to play the non-binary character of Chris, to really help me find the proper ways or I think it is the proper way. I hope it's not going to be offensive for anyone. Yeah. But to navigate through that, and really that taught me a lot about where society is at the moment and where I am in that society. And it's always good to be reminded that, okay, you're just a pawn somewhere, and it's good to know where you are and not to take yourself too seriously either. So that's good.
Yeah, I think that's it. Not to take yourself too seriously. I think that's really humbling. I think when you kind of remind yourself of that. Well, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask.
Yep.
We do 1 minute theatre thoughts where I have a bunch of questions and I'd love to just throw them at you, and see how many we can kind of get in the space of 1 minute. Okay, well. All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is your most cherished play?
So that would be a French play, a very café-théâtre play called Le Père Noël est une ordure, which is in English, Santa Claus is a stinker. And it's an absolute farce. Talking about New Year's Eve in basically at a helpline office. And so people are just waiting for desperate people to call in to come to their space. And it's a big comedy. Like every French person probably knows half of the dialogue by heart.
I'll have to look that one up. What's the best method for you to overcome writer's block?
Well, there's one I like and one I don't like. The one I don't like is doing the dishes. I don't like to do it, but that really frees my mind. The other one that I like is to go for a walk without my headphones, walking around the harbour and the ocean here in Sydney.
That sounds really healthy. Is there a play that inspires you?
I would say, yes, there's probably 2. I love God of Carnage by Yasmina Reza, which I think it's such a beautiful confrontation of characters. The other one, and probably because I've seen the film more than the play, I've never seen the play in action, but it's 6 Degrees of Separation, which I really love the intricacy and the hypocrisy of society in there.
All right, well, that's 1 minute. So we got through a couple, which is awesome. Which is awesome. No, they're great answers. I love you're so passionate about it, which is awesome. But there was one I wanted to ask. Which one was it? Do you have a favourite Australian play or a play written by an Australian author?
Oh, yeah, I think Holding the Man is, for me, it's just that's the first play I went to see when I moved to Australia in Brisbane. I saw a Brisbane production of it, and I was gobsmacked by the modernity of it, the staging of it, how it's so well deconstructed and yet completely linear. So it's just such a weird and for me that I think before that, probably when I went to the theatre, I went to see a lot of very classical linear plays, Tennessee Williams and Shakespeare and Oscar Wilde, where there's a clear beginning, middle, and end, and everything unfolds because of what you said before. And when I went to see Holding the Man, for the first 20 minutes, I was just like, I'm in a world of memories, and they're not my memories, but I start to feel comfortable about them after being very confronted by some of them. And then, of course, the last part of the play is so beautiful and a punch in the gut and so sad that I was just like, oh, that's, if one day I could do that type of thing, but I don't like too serious plays. I love to watch them, but writing them is scaring me so much.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be the same if I ever read anything. I love a farce. Like they're like two of my favorite plays are Noises Off and The Play That Goes Wrong. Like they're my 2 favorites, I think, just because they're so funny. They just really tickle a spot in me that just like gets me going, and they're so funny. I love them.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And also I love musical theatre, so everything that's got a song.
I feel like we'd get along very well. I'm a big musical theatre person as well. I've got a couple booked in that I'm going to go watch this month, so I feel like we might bump into each other.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Excellent. Well, Laurent, thank you so much for joining us. So if tickets for French Letters and Leather Cleaner can be booked by going to fruitboxtheatre.com.au. Best of luck with the premiere of the production. I'm going to try my best to come along and come see it at King's Cross, and I hope you're not too nervous to let it go.
Look, I'm just going with the flow. I know that the premiere, like the first previews, is going to be really hard for me to just go through it. But I really, I have such confidence in the team that is on stage, that I know this is going to be fun, and I've seen a few rehearsals, and I love what they're doing with my words, and it feels like they're not my words anymore. They're really. I hope you'll have as much fun watching it as I had writing it and watching it come on stage. I think I know it's probably the case. Like every time it's a new project, it's your favorite one and it's your most cherished one. But definitely this one for me is because of all the process, because of also the exposure for WorldPride. I mean, I'm so proud to be part of that big event that is in Sydney, that hopefully will revive Sydney's nightlife and gay life. Yeah. We're going to party like it's 1991 and 1999 again. So that's great. And that, just to be part of that effervescence is so amazing for me. So I'm going to just leave my fears on the side and just enjoy the moment.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you to Laurent Auclair for joining us on the podcast, as well as Sean Landis and Madeline Gandhi at Fruitbox Theatre for assisting in organising the episode. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube and Patreon. My name's Justin Clark, and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast. Running a small business? Are you promoting a new show or running a theatre space? Maybe you're looking for an area to reach potential new clients. Why not advertise with us on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast? We have a range of packages and prices for you to put your ad right here on the podcast. For more information, contact us at theatrethoughtsteam@outlook.com or by heading to our website, theatrethoughtsaus.online.
Have you ever wondered how your favorite performer actually feels? Well, here's your chance. Welcome to The Quiet Part Out Loud with me, Bobby Steggert, Broadway actor and now a therapist to a whole host of Broadway creatives. Part interview, part therapy, this is not your typical podcast. We'll go right to the heart of things with some of your favorite artists, what they still struggle with, what lessons they've learned, what they haven't figured out yet. There's enormous power in saying the quiet part out loud. Are you listening?
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.